Happy Thursday, Block 7. Whatever. All right, I'm going to go through some amendments with you guys. I asked y'all to write all that stuff on the right side of the board down, didn't I? Well, if I didn't, you might want to do that. All the stuff that's on the right side of the board is fair game for the test. You'll see that I have all the amendments from 1 to 27, minus the 11th and the 27th, because really, who cares about those? Now, just to go through some random stuff with you, I know we went through the first through, like, I don't know, ninth-ish amendment, 10th, whatever amendment today. Here's what we got. I'm going to go over this real quick with you, and then I'm going to go all the way up to the 13th Amendment today. So the content all the way up to the 13th Amendment is relevant to what this video is for you today, which is Thursday. So we looked at the First Amendment, the 5 freedoms: religion, speech, press, assembly, petition, so long as you don't cause harm to anyone and you're not trying to do anything that's violent. Second Amendment, the right to bear arms or own guns. We know that. Third Amendment, quartering troops. You are not allowed to quarter troops in one's home, so no quartering troops. You can't force people to house the police or the military unless they say sure. The Fourth Amendment was a fun one. No unreasonable searches or seizures of goods unless a warrant is provided. And if a warrant is provided, that's fine. Or unless there is probable cause. So again, like Mr. Barry's been driving and then he gets pulled over and there's 47 Bud Light cans in the front seat. Probably been drinking. You can probably pull him over and arrest him. But if you pull me over and my house and my car are spick and span clean, can't do anything, you need a warrant. So you can't unreasonably search someone and take their stuff. The Fifth Amendment, we call these the Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. If you give up that right, anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law. If you have the right to an attorney, if you cannot afford an attorney, won't be provided for you. Do you understand these rights which I've read you? Yeah, I'm a little terrified. You're telling me that I'm an accused citizen. But in America, you're innocent until proven guilty. So it says, all right, no person shall be held for a crime. So you cannot be arrested and thrown in jail. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to a jury. So you also cannot be put in jeopardy twice. Remember, you can't be arrested for the same thing twice over and over and over again until they get you. You can't be denied of your life, liberty, or property until you go through the court process. So the rights of the citizens. You have the right to remain silent. You don't have to tell them you committed the crime or that you didn't commit the crime. You have the right to an attorney. Even if you're the poorest person ever, like me, you still have the right to an attorney by the government. It's pretty awesome. The Sixth Amendment, you have the right to a speedy and fair trial by an impartial jury, meaning you get arrested, you can't sit in jail for a year before your court case goes on. Let's go put them on trial. Public trial, it's not a secret. People can see what you did. So it's not like, oh my God, that guy went to jail for 38 years. How come we didn't know about him going to jail for 38 years? Because the trial wasn't public. Nope, all trials are public. Everyone knows what's going on for all the court cases. So that's the way it is. It's a public trial. Impartial jury. Hypothetically, Mr. Barry commits a crime against all of your parents, and all of your parents are on the jury. That's not impartial. They're going to throw me in jail again. Okay? So you can't know anyone in the jury. You can't know the judge. It's got to be impartial. Well, what about celebrities, Mr. Barry? You'll be able to find an impartial juror. Like, I don't know who the Kardashians are. I don't know who's famous these days. I don't know anyone famous. Like Migos. I don't know who that guy is. So whatever. You can't know anyone on the jury. And the jury can't have any preconceived notion that they think you're guilty or innocent. So there you go. You also should know the witnesses against you. Like we're not going to go to court and all of a sudden they're like, and we have a new witness and it is. And I'm like, wait, that guy, that girl, I didn't know they were a witness. You have to know that. You have the right to a trial by jury, the Seventh Amendment. The right to a trial by jury means you don't go to the courtroom and the judge just goes, guilty. No, you have to know that there is going to be a jury at hand. Like a traveling speeding ticket, that's different. But like vehicular homicide, murder, rape, destruction of property, like those are things that go to the jury. Okay? So there can't be just a judge. You got to have a jury. Eighth Amendment, which you know is going to be on the test. No cruel or unusual punishment or excessive bail. So if Mr. Barry hits a school bus of nuns in his car and they all die, the bail isn't going to be set at like $50. That was a horrible crime. It should be like $1 million. But it can't be like $30 million because I don't have that kind of money. That's excessive. That's a bit more than I can bite off. The punishment must fit the crime. So cruel and unusual punishment. Yeah, the death penalty is totally fine. If you murder 78 people in Texas, they will murder you back. That is fit for the crime. If I get a speeding ticket, I'm not going to jail for 5 years. That's cruel and slightly unusual for my punishment. The Ninth Amendment, which is kind of like a who cares amendment, is there are rights that are not mentioned in these previous Bill of Rights, and because these rights are not mentioned above, that doesn't mean you don't have them. The people have rights. The Founding Fathers didn't know about internet privacy. They didn't even have running water, so they knew there were going to be rights that came about later that they would have to worry about, and so this protects those rights. The 10th Amendment is a fun one for me, just FYI, because here comes a tangent. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution are not prohibited to the states. They are reserved to the states. So the 10th Amendment says there are rights the states have. So a good example, if you look on the board, you see the little red thing filled in. All right, hold on. Here we go. Here we go. It's right here. So the little red box, okay? The little red box here talks about the rights of the states. So, for example, the United States government and the Constitution, they don't care who's running for governor in Hawaii. They don't care about the local election in DeKalb County. They don't care who's running for the mayor of Iowa City, Iowa, if that's even a city. The states worry about that. So the 10th Amendment says get back there. It says the states are in charge of these things. Gosh darn it, get back there. The states are in charge of that, not the federal government. Okay? So the states, they must follow the federal laws too. So for example, driver's licensing. The federal government doesn't care about you getting your driver's license. The state of Georgia sets those laws. So again, those rights not mentioned in the other amendments, those rights go to the states. So the states have the rights to set driver's license rules, speed limits. They set up public schools and how public schools will be set up. Like in Georgia in 8th grade, you take Georgia history in public school. That has got to be the worst class ever. In 8th grade at the Davis Academy, you take the greatest class of all time. Mine. And it's U.S. history, government, and economics. The state can determine what is taught in public schools. And the state can also say, hey, private schools, y'all can teach what you want, but it's got to be within reason. And I'm always within reason, right? Yeah. So the federal government doesn't care about public schools. That is a state thing that the states care about. Also, state taxes. Like when I pay taxes in Georgia on like sales tax or whatnot, the federal government doesn't get any of that money. The state of Georgia does. That's what builds Roswell Road. That's what paves Georgia 400. That's what builds, Abernathy Park. That's what the state taxes go to. They pay our police officers, right? Our state taxes, the state laws passed by the states by the 10th Amendment, again, rights reserved to the state governments. They set up the fire department. They set up the police. They set up like marriage laws and stuff like that. So that's what that is. All right. Those are the rights to the states. So that's important. That's actually on the test. So again, this is a fun little chart, right? Like the federal government coins money. They set up post offices. They make a military. They declare war. And the state governments, they don't do that. They do other stuff. That's kind of how it works. Federalism, baby. This is a tangent. You don't need to write this down, but you will not forget this story. All right. There are 50 United States, but they're not necessarily united. Think about every state being completely different. So, like, Iowa does Iowa, Hawaii does Hawaii, Wyoming does Wyoming, Kentucky does Kentucky, Alabama. We're not going to talk about Alabama. That's stupid. Each state does its own thing. They determine which policies or laws work in their state and what laws don't work in their state. And we as people can choose where to live in these states. And we have the ability to figure this out. So, like this political cartoon, which is the magazine at the front of the classroom, the United States of America, we're starting to see that the states are completely different than they are united. Meaning, like, you've got some leftist liberal states and you've got some rightish conservative states. And the Statue of Liberty is really flexible. So here's a good example. 2 states, 2 very different mindsets. On August 25th, California officially said by law there will be no more selling petrol/gas-powered cars from 2035 onward. So after the year 2035, there will be no more gas-powered cars sold in California, which means it's all going to be electric or whatever else. I'm going to go ahead and say that Texas is not going to do that because they're an oil state. So the states can do their own different things. Wyoming, an electric car wouldn't get you from one town to the other, from like Laramie to Cheyenne. You're not going to be able, you won't have time. No, it's not going to happen. So there are certain states that can pass ridiculous laws than other states because they are different states, because the 10th Amendment says the states can write the laws the states want so long as they follow the federal government. Like an example, Texas, on the same exact day that this electric car thing happened, on the same day, Texas passed a trigger law banning abortion from the moment of conception. So the moment someone is impregnated, unless they are raped or it is incest, doctors could face a prison life sentence up to 99 years. Now, California, you bet your bottom dollar they're not doing that. So each state can do what each state wants to do. This is kind of a fun graphic because it looks like the United States of America, but it's like not, but it is. Because like these are all the blue liberal states and these are all the red Republican states. Like Indiana doesn't really belong there on the map. It's like Washington, but Washington's over here somewhere. I don't know where it is. It's over here somewhere. So, again, the disunited states. This is kind of a fun little article from The Economist because I read the news. Federalism is, it separates the states. And this is a fun little map too. This shows you, all right, you've got your X and Y axis or your X and Y axis. I'm not a math teacher. Let's just say this is the X and this is the Y. So right here in the middle means it's the states that are the most neutral. So like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Ohio, Virginia. Georgia is a state that's a little more on the conservative side, but they're not like more Democratic or more Republican. They're in the middle of conservative-ish. California, like super liberal, like super Democratic. And the farther higher up they are, super-ish, liberal-ish. And then like Mississippi and Alabama, very conservative states. Wyoming, West Virginia, very conservative states. Don't worry about this, although this is kind of crazy. In case you want to know about people who deny that President Biden's president, I can't fix those people. Here we go. The tangent. Mr. Barry, marijuana is like illegal at the federal level, but you can have it in certain states. Here comes the asterisk. All right. Now, there are pot shops in the United States. That actually should be 19. That's a typo. 19 states have now decriminalized marijuana. That doesn't mean it's legal. It means it's decriminalized, meaning you won't get arrested and thrown in jail if you purchase it through a state-run government body. Confused? Here we go. Marijuana is not technically legal according to the federal government. However, it is decriminalized because the failure of the war on drugs. In the 80s, it was like, arrest everyone who is smoking and selling and dealing marijuana. That didn't work out. 15 states now have decriminalized. That actually should be 19 now. Sorry, another typo. 19 states have decriminalized marijuana, though it is not legal. So here's how it goes. If you grow it on your own, if you distribute or sell it on your own, or if you own it from either making it on your own or buying it from someone who made it on their own, that is violating federal drug laws. In 2009, President Obama said that it wasn't worth the federal government arresting these people because they were such small crimes. Marijuana is not an addictive drug, and it doesn't cause as much harm to say as drugs like cocaine, methamphetamines, fentanyl, and even alcoholism, abusing alcohol. Marijuana is not an addictive drug. You can't do marijuana, smoke pot, eat marijuana for like 6 hours straight, and then the next day feel like you are addicted. You can't. But if you do cocaine or if you take a serious painkiller, your body will get hooked on that because those are addictive substances. Alcohol is an addictive substance, but marijuana is not. It goes in your system, it gets out of your system, and that is what it is. In no way, shape, or form am I telling you that marijuana is okay in this lesson. I am just trying to prove an economic point for you. So here's the thing. In 2013, the Justice Department at the federal government level said they're not going to waste their time prosecuting people in states where marijuana has been decriminalized. So here's some perspective. Okay? Marijuana brought in millions of dollars in tax revenue in 2018. Washington made $319 million in taxes with marijuana. California made $300 million in taxes. Colorado, $266 million. Oregon, $94 million. Vermont, 0. Michigan, 0. Maine, 0. And Washington, D.C., 0 because they didn't want to. It wasn't that big of a deal. Okay, whatever. Here's the point. Marijuana is taxed so high in these states. Montana, the tax on marijuana is $37. 37%. So if you buy $100 of marijuana, it costs $137. $37 goes to the state government to spend on whatever they want. So like public schools, paying public teachers, paving roads, building stoplights, hiring bus drivers for like MARTA and public schools, building public parks, repaving roads, building school buildings, paying the fire department, paying public librarians. Tax dollars pay for these people. Our taxes pay for these jobs and for these things. Riverwood International Charter School didn't just magically build itself. Georgia tax dollars paid for it to be built. So in a state like Washington, where the government makes $319 million a year on taxes for marijuana, that's $319 million the state is going to spend on whatever it wants. And these states that have marijuana, like that they legalize marijuana, decriminalize marijuana. Okay, these states are the ones that are making millions of dollars for their states. According to this map, the dark green states decriminalize it, meaning you can purchase recreational and medical marijuana. The states that are light green, only medical marijuana. The states that are white, Georgia, no marijuana at all. Here we go. All right. In California, you have to, if you go to California and you want to go buy marijuana, you go into a store that is set up by the state. That store has the state's permission to function. You buy the marijuana and you buy it with cash. Okay? Now, in this sense, the marijuana is bought. Hold on one second. Sorry, I got a text message. This is an important text message. Also, this tells me if you're, pay attention. So, here's what we got. Marijuana in California, you go into a store and it's a pot shop only, meaning they only sell marijuana products. You show them your driver's license, they scan your driver's license, and when you go in there, you can only spend cash because banks will not accept credit card transactions for marijuana. So you can only spend cash at a marijuana store. If you think about it, that's cash right there that you give the government taxes because it's actual cash. So in California, in order to purchase marijuana to use recreationally, you have to go into a pot shop. That pot shop or marijuana shop purchases the marijuana from someone who is told by the government they can legally do it. And all of that money from the person who grows it to the person who sells it to the person who buys it, all of that goes to the federal government. The state government, pardon me. So I can't grow my own marijuana and then sell it. That's illegal. But if the state gives me a license, I can grow it and then sell it to the dispensary shop. And then they can sell it and we all make money because the state regulates it. So people are less likely to do something illegal. People are less likely to deal drugs and buy drugs and grow drugs illegally if you're going to say that it's okay in the state. Now, perspective point. Okay, Arkansas does not allow recreational marijuana, but they allow medical marijuana. Some cancer patients and people with Parkinson's and people with Tourette's, there have been studies that shown that using medical marijuana, which is marijuana that's kind of altered for medical purposes, it can prevent what we call the shakes for Parkinson's disease. It can prevent Tourette's outbursts. And it can also ease the pain for those who are in serious cancer pain or serious pain where they don't want to take addictive painkillers. So some people say, well, why wouldn't you want to give them a drug that's not going to get them addicted, that's going to ease their pain? And also marijuana is naturally grown in this environment, whereas hypothalmoxyl-glycopentacamine, that's definitely not grown anywhere. So that's the argument as to, all right, well, should marijuana be decriminalized or not? You ready for this? All right. In 2014, recreational marijuana was made legal. In 2022, Colorado officially raised $1 billion in taxes from 2014 to 2022. That means Colorado has made $1 billion off of marijuana taxes. Colorado has built over 30 public schools, paved over 1,000 miles of road, built more than 50 state and public parks, and built over a dozen fire stations and police stations, all with this tax dollars. So technically, drug money is helping Colorado become a better state. I don't say that in a literal sense. You understand I'm saying that from an economic stance. Drugs are bad, we get it. However, there is an economic impact, and it does help. So people have to work, so there's more jobs. And because those people have jobs, they pay taxes. So technically, if you decriminalize marijuana or legalize it, the governments could make more money. That's all I have to say. That's my tangent for the 10th Amendment, which is the states can make their own laws because the states make their own laws about marijuana. All right, we got a couple more amendments, and then this is the end of the video. Now, the 11th through the 27th Amendment were passed from 1791 to 1993. That's a long time. Not every year was there an amendment. Sometimes things just were fine in America, so there was no need for an amendment. So things just were what they were. So you didn't need to worry about amendments being passed. So the next amendments, you'll see I put a year when the amendment was passed. So the 12th Amendment reads, we're not reading this. This is ridiculous. Oh my God. All right, on the board, it says it creates the modern electoral college, meaning the Electoral College votes for the president and vice president. If you have not watched this video already, the TED video on the Electoral College, you need to watch it because it'll give you an idea as to what all this stuff. Wait, no, I didn't mean to. Okay, no, I don't want to watch you. But I would highly suggest watching this video. It shows you that there's things that are good and bad about the Electoral College. Moving on. All right. I'm going to talk about 3 more amendments in this video, and then that's it. Now, there have been amendments passed because of the Civil War. There have been amendments passed because of the Progressive Era. There have been amendments passed because of the Vietnam War. There have been amendments passed because presidential assassinations. An amendment is a change to the Constitution. If you amend something, you are just changing it. That's all amendment means. It means changing. So we're going to look at the 3 amendments here that are called the Civil War Amendments. Amendments 13, 14, and 15 were passed directly after the Civil War. The Civil War freed the slaves after it granted citizenship and freed blacks the right to vote. So in 1865, we just went 61 years. We just went 61 years till we have another amendment. In 1865, the 13th Amendment was passed. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to other the jurisdiction. No more slavery. On the board it says the 13th Amendment abolishes slavery. This is the first time slavery is mentioned in the Constitution. That's a big deal. Because now they're not talking about like persons migrated or import. No, slavery done. The Civil War ended, the South lost, no more slavery. So the 13th Amendment abolishes slavery in 1865. Now, you have freed these 4 million black slaves. Now what? There's an asterisk around the 14th Amendment. I know. The 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state where they reside, and they get certain privileges and immunities of all citizens. Here we go. I highlight this thing, and I want you to think for a second, what is the controversial part of this amendment, and who are they really talking about? Sorry, I have a runny nose. All right, the Civil War. In 1865, the slaves are freed. So now they're freed blacks, but they're not citizens yet. So the 14th Amendment gives freed blacks citizenship. But it says all persons born or naturalized in the United States. Well, in 1865, every slave in the United States was born in America. They were not importing slaves anymore. So they were saying, they wrote this amendment, Congress wrote this amendment referring to all the slaves because all the slaves were born here. But that doesn't mean everyone born here was supposed to be a citizen. They didn't think about that. In the present day, illegal immigrants come to the United States and they have a child in the United States. Because that child was born in the United States, they are a citizen. That is a big deal. So that's what makes this amendment so controversial. Because anyone born in the United States or on a United States military base or in a United States territory, anyone born in that area, in those assignments, okay? Anyone born in the United States is a citizen no matter what. And a lot of people are arguing that because they think that's not fair. Just because you are born here doesn't mean you should automatically be a citizen. And that's controversial. The people who wrote the amendment probably would not have thought about this in the future. They probably would not have said all persons if they realized that illegal immigration was going to be an issue. So, the 13th Amendment frees the slaves. The 14th Amendment gives freed slaves, or now we say freed blacks, rights, like the right to own property, the right to buy things, the right to send their kids to school, basic rights. Now in 1870, finally, it gives the rights of the citizens to vote, no matter their race, color, or previous conditions of servitude. So the rights of citizens to vote cannot be denied regardless of race, color, or previous condition of servitude, meaning slavery. So on the board, the 15th Amendment, every citizens have the right to vote regardless of race, ethnicity, or whether or not they were formerly enslaved. But it only talks about men. Women don't get the right to vote yet. So again, these are the Civil War amendments. The 13th Amendment abolishing slavery, the 14th Amendment giving former slaves civil rights, and the 15th Amendment giving former slaves the right to vote. I will stop the video here, and that's what we've got. The next video we'll talk about more amendments. Be good.